All right, so we're with my buddy Jack. Hey, Jack, it's nice to see you today.
Good to see you again.
Thanks for making this not a dull moment today.
My pleasure.
So my buddy Jack here is a man of mystery to me. He has always been running, a major corporation, parts of a major corporation, and I thought I knew him, but it turns out he's got a hobby that is turning out really nice for him. It's a way to blow off some steam, and so now I've aptly named his company. You don't know Jack, because apparently I don't.
That's right.
But let's go ahead and look at some of this.
Sure, absolutely. My pleasure.
So Jack, we have different cutting boards here. We've got some down here. Walk us through some of these designs.
Absolutely.
I see end grain, I say edge grain. We'll just start over here. What are we looking at?
What you have here is edge grain, and it's primarily walnut.
Okay.
We've got maple in the middle. We've got some cherry.
Nice.
And then this is a wenge, which is a very dark black wood.
Okay. Show me the. There's a pattern. You have it like You have a taper on the bottom of this.
I do.
Never seen before.
This is something I did a little different. It's got a 45-degree angle at the bottom. It can be used really either way.
Okay.
But
it is reversible.
It is reversible, but it does have the taper.
Now, for those of you listening, I actually own one of these. Jack made one for the show. We've been featuring it recently. He did an in-grain board for us. This one, I believe, is already set aside for the wife.
This is one's already set aside for the wife. It was a little bit of leftover from another one.
Okay.
It is 12 by 12, and 2 inches thick, but it's all end grain.
Now, is this maple and
This is walnut and maple.
Okay, beautiful. And I'm noticing, the little pattern inside the...
Absolutely.
Okay.
All inside the
and you got a little routering work on there. It's also reversible.
Reversible, but I only did the router piece on top and left the bottom perfectly squared off.
So whatever your choice is, yep. Now, I'm a big fan of these edges here. I like the monolithic kind of squared off kind of a thing.
Right.
So, we've on the edge grain, we always have this beautiful long... You seem to be working with like a 1-inch pattern, but over here you did something a little different.
Yep, over here I started with an almost 2-inch piece of maple.
Okay.
And then most of them are 3/4 inch with the walnut and the cherry. Same with the walnut here. I cut it down to about little over 1/4 inch, I think it was. So you can go with various sizes and cut them down to whatever works for you.
And then we've got some beautiful asymmetrical pieces like these two. I love them.
Absolutely.
That red really pops.
Yes. Again, I squared it on the bottom.
Okay.
But
and this
routed
is your
the top.
average size. What would you say the average size board is you're doing?
Most of my boards are 12 by 18 by 1 3/4 to even 2 inches.
I like a little thicker board. It's got a little extra weight for stability.
Absolutely.
And then the last board that's down here, you went ahead and did some feet on there.
This one's a little bit different. Again, I went with a lot of different woods and sizes of the wood, but this one I actually went and put some feet on the bottom of it.
Okay.
There are some people who prefer that.
Technically, people could reverse it as long as they don't mind the feet.
Exactly. Or if they really wanted to, they could take the feet off, and it would be very easy to fill the tiny little holes with a little bit of glue and coffee ground.
Oh, wow. There you go, and organic as well.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and see where this begins.
Which would be over here in my wood pile. And I do a lot of research online, and I look for wood from all over. I've got some down here is Purple Heart.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful wood, hard, exotic. Most of these are exotic woods other than your maple.
Okay.
I've got African mahogany.
Cherry.
This one is a beautiful red. This one's Paduke.
Okay.
Which will give you a beautiful red color.
I'm not familiar with.
This is kind of a smaller piece, what it would look like.
Okay.
One of my favorites.
With that dark wood over there.
Yes, I'll show you two of them. This is actually bloodwood.
Okay, wow.
And this will give you a really dark red in it. And it can also come, as you can see, this one has a little bit of other color in it.
Yep.
So you can use it as well. And then this one is a very dark wood as well. Very black. This is totally different. And it is I can't even pronounce Cataxlock.
Well,
No,
so
it's not
for
it.
those of you
For
guys
those of you
who understand that, is that
No, it's
Cadillac.
Cadillacs. Thank
There
you.
go.
And then again, I've got the standard walnut and maple and cherry in there.
There you go.
And then down here, obviously, a lot of walnut. Seems
Okay,
people
so-
like that.
And so what begins is this big chunk of wood. Would you say you end up getting like 3 pieces cut linear?
You can, depending on the thickness of what you
haven't
want.
done like a really thick one yet.
I have not. No, I've not done one where I've used the whole board. I could.
Because really, some of those booze blocks that we've seen, they're like the thickness of that whole thing.
Oh, absolutely.
You literally-
Absolutely.
Now, those are going to cost some money.
They're gonna cost you $175 on up for
Yeah.
the thickness. Typically, most of my boards again are 1 3/4 inches. These are 2x2s, so really, when you look at it, this is 1 3/4 by 1 3/4.
So the purveyor that wherever you're getting this wood, I'm noticing a lot of this wood's coming at a certain predetermined thickness.
It is. When I order it,
Length, I'm sorry.
length and thickness. When I order it, I ask for certain sizes.
Okay, so you could actually, because I'm noticing this is a little longer if a person wanted a bigger.
Absolutely. This cherry is, I've got it 36 inches, 24 inches, 32 inches. Typically, they'll come in 20 inches because most of your boards are 18,
Okay.
but various sizes.
So if
And
somebody wanted a big custom
they
piece,
could
you can
get,
do it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so we've got a little workshop energy going on over here.
Tiny little workshop energy.
Okay, so you want to say hello to the dogs? We don't mind. We like dog people. Let's open the door.
Oh,
no.
One would be good. One of the shepherds would be good. The other one wouldn't.
Okay.
This is just, again, leftover that I've cut down.
Okay, so for those of you watching, this is in a very raw state.
Very raw
Is
state.
this pre any sanding? Have you done any sanding?
No sanding yet. All
Yeah, I
I've
can
done
feel
with
the
this
end grain on that.
is it went through the planer to
Yeah,
get off
you can
the
definitely feel
the ripples.
the softness and the grit
yes.
of the end grain. And so the process then would be double sanding on this, right? There would be sand.
What we would do with a board like this and any of the other boards is typically after it comes out of the planer, I'll give it a light sand.
Okay.
Then I spray it with water,
Okay.
and I do that to raise the grain.
And that's going to be on your end grain and your edge grain?
Both.
Okay.
You want to get some of that fluff up from the wood. I let it sit sometimes overnight,
Okay.
and then I'll hit it with 120 grit
Okay.
sandpaper. I will repeat the process, spray it down, let it sit. I'll do it with 150, and then I work my way up to 220 grit sandpaper.
Very good.
So that's what gives you that very, very polished finish like you see over here on this one.
Yeah, now I felt this one. This one's glass-like. This one is actually, I hate to say it, it's in grain, but it feels smoother maybe.
It
than
is.
this edge grain right next to it, even though you did the same sanding
Did the same
process.
thing. I probably, because I really wanted to bring up the colors, I probably sanded this a little extra,
Yeah.
and that's why. But all of these went through the process.
Okay. So, what are we looking at down here? We got some. Is this some gluing going on, or what?
Not yet. This morning, I decided to throw together some
This is like a mock-up?
mock-up to see what it would look like.
Okay.
And this one right now is about 20 inches.
I was gonna say that's a little longer.
Little
right?
longer. 20 inches by 12 by 1 3/4.
Okay. So
And
no-
so
no
right
glue.
now, no glue. I'm just playing with it to see what the colors look like. And I may end up leaving it as an edge grain, or I may slice it and make it into an end grain. Haven't decided yet.
Okay. And so it's funny, you actually told me the other day how that works. And so for you to make that into an end grain, you have some glue
Right?
that you would like glue this up and then let it sit like 10 hours plus.
No, actually, about 24 I let it sit for. So I
Okay.
glue it up. I've got all the clamps over here, as you can see, the real good jet clamps.
Okay.
So I would glue them up, let it sit for 24 hours.
And then if it's edge grain, it's kind of ready to go with sanding and stuff.
Edge grain would be ready to go through the planer, sanding,
But if
shaping,
that
cutting.
became end grain,
Then we go through a whole nother step.
Okay, so that is slicing this like
Cross cut.
we go like this.
Yes.
And then turn the whole piece
And then
and keep doing it, and then you can offset them and zigzag
offset
it.
them, and then what I would do is once I did that, I would glue them again for 24 hours, and there's the process. And it would end up looking like, it would start like this
Okay.
with the edge grain, and then I would cut through
There you go.
and then flip it up,
And so your edges are
and so
up.
your edges are up. And again, that's leftover that I'll
And so if
probably
you
end
want
up
to throw
making.
in an asymmetrical piece,
Easily.
you want to, whatever you want to do.
Yep. Originally, this kind of looked like, got to get all, it's like
Yeah,
a
it's
puzzle. Kind of all looked like,
Yeah,
so
right.
now I had
There
this,
you go.
there we go. No, there we go. Like that,
Okay.
with the different woods in it.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep.
And so I just ended up flipping, so you get the edge of the wood, or the end of the wood up versus the edge.
Yep. Versus the side. Okay.
Yep. And then
so-
you can reverse the pattern,
So I
which
think
then gives
I'd
you
love for people to understand
this.
that, like, the color that you get comes from the wood.
Absolutely.
You're not staining this wood to
No.
become red.
not at all.
It is like, literally this wood grows this color.
That grows this color. This is Purple Heart, and
Yes.
literally, there's the color of it.
Gorgeous.
So as you can see, it is purple.
Yes.
So I do not stain it. All I do is cut it, decide where it's going to go
Okay.
in
And
the
then
pattern.
is this wood treated in any way when you receive it?
It is not. It's raw. It's
Okay.
all raw wood. It's not treated in any way
Okay.
other than kiln dried. Kiln dried, yes.
Okay. And so what stages are we in here? This has been sanded already. So the other piece was raw in the mock-up.
Right.
This has been glued, dried, and now been sanded once.
This has been sanded once.
Okay.
You
Definitely
can,
can
you
tell.
can feel a
Yep,
difference. Now you come over there. This has been sanded several times,
yep. Okay. Yeah.
but still it's got more sanding to go.
Okay.
And-
wow. How many passes are you going to do on that?
This, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this one down one more time,
Okay.
and then fully sand it.
And we're going to see that happen.
You're going to see what it will look like when I spray
Okay.
it down.
All right. We're
But
good
you'll
to
see
go.
the colors. So when you look at it right now, it doesn't look much.
And this is just water that we're
This
using.
is just plain water. You let it soak in to the into the wood, which will raise up the grain. So when you sand it down, you'll get a smoother finish.
Okay.
But what you have
So
here
we're
is
swelling the wood.
we're
basically.
swelling the wood to get it sanded smooth. You've got walnut, maple, and cherry.
Okay.
So this will really, once you start wetting it,
Wow.
you can see really once it gets finished and oiled, what that board will actually look like.
Okay.
And you can see how quickly it's being absorbed into the wood.
Yes. And for those of you who are watching this has a lot to do with going to, like, whether you're using food grade mineral oil or any type of waxes. The in-grain board is very porous. It's going to actually really draw that weight into itself.
Absolutely.
If you're sealing the board, people need to know that have a lot of material to seal it with and know it's
Yes,
thirsty.
and it's thirsty, and it's going to be that way every time you wash it. Once it's sealed and you use it and you wash it, each time you do it, you may want to slightly treat it, or depending how often you wash it. But I would recommend oiling it and treating it as often as possible.
So I recently did a video, and I had one of your boards featured in there, and I was talking to them about edge grain versus end grain. And one of the things that I wanted to tell them was that, there's a lot of moving parts here, so to speak.
Oh, yes.
Pardon the pun. Like so this wood with just water is expanding and contracting, but then if you put hot water on it,
It's going to expand even more.
and so then the problem is when it contracts, you've loosened up the adhesive.
Yes,
So that that
Absolutely.
can make your board fall apart later,
or
over
warp,
time,
or warp.
or even
Yeah.
make cracks for bacteria to go.
Absolutely.
So you're just like a regular lukewarm to not even doesn't even really need to
Doesn't
just warm it up for
it
yourself.
can be cold or lukewarm soap wash it.
Soap's going to kill all the bacteria.
Right. So the hot water doesn't matter. It can be cold water. It really doesn't matter. But soap it, wash it, and then the best thing you can do when you're done is dry it immediately.
Okay. Now I'm also seeing as well. People are being told to make sure they wet both sides.
Yes.
So they swell evenly.
Absolutely. When you wash it, you wash both sides so that it's getting equal.
Okay. And then we're storing it upright, like
Upright.
vertical.
Yes.
Okay. On its side.
On its side. That way, again, you're not. If you were to leave it up, let's say like this, you may get some bend or warp in it. So the best way is, if you're not laying it perfectly flat, is certainly store it where you can lay it on its side like that.
Okay.
And this one still has multiple sandings to go, but real quickly, you'll kind of see what this pattern will look like.
Yeah, I mean, the colors come to life.
The colors come to life
and
once
these got, I'm surprised those got a little darker too, and just really added some warmth. You got the coolness and the warmth. Inside the grain there is just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so from here, you've soaked this. This is starting to drink it.
Right.
How dry will it get before you sand it, or how much more will you wet? Like, is that all the wetting that you're doing, or you're going to wet it more?
I may wet it more. I'll flip it over and wet the other side before I'm done, so that it's done equally. I'll let it set for several hours, usually overnight, because I'll do this at night.
So you'll wet it.
I'll wet it, let it dry overnight,
really
so it's really going to pop, and then the next day is when I can do my sanding.
Okay, now we're a hand sander or a machine sander, or we're over here?
No, hand sander. Everything's done by hand. I have a palm hand sander over there, and I hook it up to my vacuum cleaner, so there's not a lot of mess.
Okay, nice.
And I just stand here and I start with different grains and go through the whole sanding process.
So if this board was done right now, okay, and it's like we've done all the sanding, what's the next step before you're going to give it to someone like me? What are you doing to treat it or seal it or wax it, or what are you doing?
I actually do two things. When I finish up, I am going to put on some mineral oil to let it soak in. Again, it will bring out the color even more than the water did. And I will put it on, I'll rub it in, then wipe off the excess, let it dry, and I'll probably do it a second time.
Okay.
And then once it's all done and dry, I'll come by with a wax that I use. It's a wood wax, and then I'll wax the whole board with this. I'm
just letting everybody see this is walrus. No animals were harmed in the making of this?
None.
Okay, so it says 100% food grade. I like it. I'm just kind of getting, so we'll go with some coconut oil and beeswax, pure mineral oil, vitamin E, apply it, dry for 15 minutes, then buff with a rag.
You could almost put this on your face.
There you go. So after it dries 15 minutes, you're done. It's ready to be given out.
Yeah. Then I could
take it to its owner.
Take it to its owner, whatever it is, wherever it's going to go from there.
Okay, so since I'm getting to know Jack, the side that I've never known for like 20 years or like whatever, was this just a hobby gone wild? Is there an ultimate goal, or is this it's just selling off your some hobby? Like what's going on?
Great question. I've always loved woodworking.
Yeah. And I never knew that.
Never knew that. I like to putz around. As you can see, I lined my whole garage with pallet, tore pallets apart.
I noticed it was wood. I didn't think about it being pallets.
And did the whole garage in pallet because I was bored one winter.
Yes, that would be bored. That's something to do during COVID.
Absolutely.
So you just took pallets apart and then just
took them apart, cut them down, sized them, and then
there you go.
Put them up and put them in. Left them as raw as I possibly could. So this has kind of turned into a hobby. It's a great way to relieve stress. Just come out into the garage.
Investment between the table saw and miter saw.
Oh yeah.
Like all the different clamps going on.
The clamps, the planer.
Look at the amount of chargers that are like ready to go. He is not stopping for anything.
Nope. I've got my planer. I've got a joiner.
There you go.
So that the edges are perfect. So no, there's a lot of investment here, but it's been over time. So.
All right. So I know we're not going to officially quote. People can't necessarily write me and say I want this, whatever. But what is the price point we're looking at? Like a roundabout.
These, depending on the size, are probably going to go between 100 and 175. I'm thinking, depending on the size.
On the high end, the exotic wood or the size?
The wood, the size, the thickness. And certainly whether it's edge grain or end grain.
Yes.
End grain certainly takes twice the work to do.
Okay.
And so you'll see if you look any of them up in catalogs, you'll find that those are more expensive usually than the edge grain.
All right, so the deal is I'm taking one of these with me?
You are taking one of these with you, except for obviously this one.
Right.
I know that you said you kind of like this one.
So
you like
here's
this
the thing.
one.
So
You said
here's
you
the
like
thing.
this one.
I like this shape. I am a square, monolithic, whatever. So I'm just checking it out. So these two are the same length and thickness. I love the red. There's red in both. I love the asymmetrical.
Right?
Love it. This one's asymmetrical. These are symmetrical. I've been leaning towards this one the whole time.
You have.
What wood am I looking at right here? This maple?
It's maple.
Okay. And then we got some purple. What's in the red here?
What you have here is you've got maple,
Okay.
you've got walnut,
Okay.
you've got walnut, and then the little bit of red that you've got in here, I use the bloodwood.
Okay. And then what's the red in here that's just popping?
That, believe it or not, it's the same. It's just sometimes pieces of the wood that you use is a little bit brighter color than another one.
Okay.
Just like with the maple, you'll see some are darker than the other, but it's all maple.
All right, I'm going to keep people in suspense for one more question real quick. We're in humid Myrtle Beach.
Humid Myrtle Beach, as you
Okay,
can see,
we're
we're
out
sweating
here
in this
outside.
hot garage.
Yeah, so what kind of havoc does that wreak on this, if any? Does it contribute at all?
It wouldn't. No. This
Okay,
is
so the wood's not swelling.
the wood's not swelling because of humidity in here. Obviously these are indoor boards, but no, they would be
So
fine
let
if
me
I
ask
left
you
them
this.
out
If
here.
I can't make a decision. Is there one you would want me to have? Of these two.
Of those two. Wow.
Okay, so let's
They're-
let everybody know. What's this one? This is all walnut?
This is all walnut. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. All walnut. Then you've got, believe it, this is right here is maple.
Yeah.
It's just a lighter color maple. And then you've got the bloodwood.
I gotta go. You know what? I gotta do this one.
Well, that's the one you've been leaning towards the whole time.
Asymmetrical.
Asymmetrical
I love it.
It's
It's the closest thing to that.
to this one.
Yeah, it's a bigger size. So
It's a good, thick, hefty board.
Yes.
Solid.
Yes.
As you can see, it's got
Reversible,
the
the
reversible
hand grips.
with the hand grips.
Boom.
This baby is ready to go. And even if we were to oil it right now, you would see the colors rise again.
I've got some sealant at home. I got a video coming out this Tuesday.
Perfect.
So by the time you guys watch this, that video will have already been out that I'm using. So I will definitely, you've already sealed it.
I've already sealed it. It hasn't been waxed, but I know you
So
want to seal it.
I've got my
Yeah.
beeswax, cold pressed olive oil.
Yep. And you can see the difference, how much shinier this one is than this, because the wax is on this one.
Okay. Okay. So I'm super excited. I'm going to turn this camera around real quick. If you guys are thinking about getting into the woodworking aspect, we normally cover knives, but if you were thinking about it, you've seen some of the mini tools that are necessary. And if you didn't quite know everything that went into it, you're wondering why you're paying the amount you're paying, you got to see this isn't just slapped together. There are little details to make sure that you're safe and sanitary. You're not splintered. You're not eating wood. That your knives edges are going to be kept for a long time. That it's decorative. We want you to be safe and sanitary. Precautions we're taking on this end. If you're going to get into cutting boards, make sure you take the precautions as well. I'm looking forward to enjoying this cutting board. I can say without a doubt this was definitely not a dull moment. We appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.